and welcome to Google I/O. I'm Dan, and today we're going to talk about improving app health and stability by combining the power of Firebase Performance Monitoring and Crashlytics. If you're an app developer, whether you're building for Android or iOS or both, you're probably spending your days thinking about how to make your app great. But what does great mean exactly? At Firebase, we think about that a lot. Making an app is hard. Making an app great is even harder. But Firebase is here to help you along the way. There are 3 stages on this app development journey. If you have an app, chances are that every single one of you is in one of these 3 stages. The first stage on this app development journey is the My App is Live stage. You've been there. You've been working hard to build your new app, and it's finally done. You've finished the most critical features, you've tested it, you feel good about where it is, and you've finally pushed it to production. It's on the app stores, your users love it, user adoption is growing, and life is good. If you're there, congratulations. This is a huge milestone in every app developer's life. And that's why we built Firebase in the first place. But there's more work ahead, a lot of it. The second milestone in that app development journey is the Fix Crashes Fast stage. Many of you have been here too. Once your app is live, you soon discover that your work is just getting started. It's not enough just to have an app on the app stores. You've also got to keep it up and running for your users. No matter how much testing you do, every app crashes once in a while. Your users are running your app on a complex ecosystem of devices and form factors and OS versions, and your team is constantly releasing new features and fixing issues. All this creates change, and sometimes change results in crashes. If you want to keep all those users that you've worked so hard to acquire, then you need to discover and fix crashes as soon as they happen. That's where Crashlytics comes in. You don't want to learn about problems in your app from angry reviews on the App Store from frustrated users. The best way to ensure your app's stability is to find out about crashes as soon as they occur. In a few minutes, Mike will talk about the great new features in Crashlytics and how they will help you to discover and respond to crashes as quickly as possible. Once your team has built your app and you're responding to crashes fast, then you might be ready to move to the third stage. And this final stage on the road to app development greatness is the Optimize the Experience stage. If you're not here yet, the Firebase team is here to help with some great new features in Firebase Performance Monitoring. Your users will use your app on different devices, in different countries, and on different networks, and this means that even when your app isn't crashing, your users still might be experiencing speed and latency issues. Luckily, performance monitoring helps you to collect and organize your app's performance metrics so you can see performance trends and identify opportunities to improve your app's experience. After we hear from Mike, Jenny from the Firebase Performance Monitoring team will talk about going beyond managing crashes to optimizing the experience of your app with an awesome new feature that her team just brought to the platform. No matter where you are on the app developer journey, we know that you want to make your app great for users, and we want to help you do that. Today, as we continue this discussion, we'll use a hypothetical shopping app on the Android App Store, and we're going to dive into some of the newest advancements from Firebase Performance Monitoring and Crashlytics so that you can take your app development to the next level for your users. Let's dive in. Here's Mike from the Crashlytics team to get us started with a closer look.
Thanks, Dan. As Dan mentioned, once your app is live, you need a way to identify and respond to crashes as quickly as possible. You've entered the Fix Crashes Fast stage. If you're already using Crashlytics, you're familiar with how we group crash reports together into distinct issues so that you can discover and fix the most impactful bugs affecting your app stability. To help you get even more out of what Crashlytics has to offer, I'll walk you through a few of the ways, new and old, that you can use to prioritize and troubleshoot issues no matter where you are in your app development lifecycle. A typical process that many developers follow before releasing a new version of their app to customers is to ship a test version out to a smaller group of people first to get feedback. This could be internally within your company or to a large group of people who have signed up to receive beta versions of your app. If you're using Google Play to distribute your app, you might be using Firebase release tracks to do this. With different production, testing, and beta versions live, you may be finding it difficult to distinguish crashes from these different release tracks in the Crashlytics dashboards. For example, you might have a lot less activity in the beta version of your app, making those crashes seem less important. Or maybe you just aren't sure which version exactly is being served to which groups of users. Well, Crashlytics is excited to announce a new integration with the Play Developer Console to make this process a lot easier for you. By linking your Crashlytics and Play apps together, you'll be able to filter the issues list by release track to help catch bugs before they can make it to production. Let's see how it works. We'll start by opening up the project settings page on the Firebase console, then integrations, followed by connect to Google Play. You'll see a list of Firebase features that can be enhanced by linking to Play, which now includes Crashlytics. Any of these choices can be toggled on or off individually. When you select Crashlytics, you'll have the option to enable one or more of your apps for the integration. Keep in mind that you'll need to be an administrator on both Firebase and Play to do this. But once the link is made, your entire team will be able to take advantage of the feature. Click Link to Play, and we get a confirmation that the link was made. Let's head back to the issues list on Crashlytics. When we click on the version filter, we now see an option for each release track. If I select Close Testing, only the versions participating in that track are selected. Click Apply, and we'll see only the issues impacting that track. That's much better. I can clearly see there are a few issues in particular that are impacting our closed testing. I'll want to get these bugs patched up before our release hits production. This is our first integration between Crashlytics and Play, and we're very excited to launch it today. In the coming months, we'll have more to share about how Crashlytics and Play are collaborating to make both products work better together. Check out the new Google Play tools to improve your app quality talk to learn more, and stay tuned for future announcements. Now, how should I prioritize these issues? It's not always obvious which crashes are the most important. Signals is a new feature that Crashlytics recently released that will highlight interesting attributes about a crash. It looks like I have a few issues with signals that I should take a closer look at. You can see we have a fresh issue, which indicates that Crashlytics saw this for the first time within the last 7 days. In fact, by hovering over the badge, we can see that this issue occurred for the first time 2 days ago. You might also see other signal types like early crashes, which occur within the first 5 seconds of opening the app, repetitive crashes, or even regressed issues, which are issues that were previously marked as fixed but have reappeared in a later version. All of these are indications of a potentially poor user experience. Here's another type of issue you might not have been thinking about: ANRs, or application not responding errors. These are issues that occur when the UI thread of your app is blocked for too long. This can be particularly frustrating for users, since they won't be able to interact with your app during this time. In fact, according to our data, ANRs account for nearly 1/3 of all unintended application exits on Android, making them just as detrimental to your app quality as crashes. Previously, these were only visible in the Play Developer Console. Now, you can see them in Crashlytics, where your whole development team can take advantage of the rich set of debugging information provided by the Crashlytics SDK. Let's dive into this ANR that a lot of my users are experiencing. We can see that Crashlytics has already highlighted the blocking thread for us, and it looks like the application is stuck while waiting for an image to load on the product catalog. You can also see which thread reported the ANR. If we go to the Logs tab under the Event Summary, we can see a detailed timeline of steps the user took before encountering this error. We call these breadcrumbs, and since we're using Google Analytics, they're automatically collected for us. You can even add your own custom events if you need to. Since I'm using fragments, I've instrumented my code to send an event anytime a new UI fragment comes into view. This way, I can track all of the screens my users are viewing, even if the current activity doesn't change. Here's a code snippet for how you can do this as well. I should also take a look at the Keys tab. Custom keys are key value pairs that you can define to provide more context about the app's state prior to a crash occurring. It looks like our user is somewhere in the UK, and they're on a slower cellular network. Maybe that's a hint for something I can look into. Here's another code sample for how you might do this in your app. As we've seen, Crashlytics not only now surfaces ANRs, but also gives you and your team important contextual information to help reproduce and fix these issues. You'll be back to 5-star reviews in no time. In order to take advantage of ANR reporting, you'll want to make sure you upgrade to the latest version of the Crashlytics SDK. One last thing I should mention. Wouldn't it be great if you had access to crash reporting details right from your IDE where you are already working? With the new App Quality Insights window in Android Studio, you can do just that. Available now in the Android Studio Electric Eel Canary channel. Finding, prioritizing, and fixing issues in your app is a high priority for most developers. And it isn't always easy. No matter which phase of app development you are in, Crashlytics has the features to help. Now that you're comfortable with crash reporting and have your app stability under control, you're entering the Optimize the Experience stage. It's time to track and alert on your app's performance. I'll pass things over to Jenny to talk more about that.
Thanks, Mike. After you fix the critical crashes in your app, the next step is optimizing your app's performance as you scale. Performance is critical to the success of your app. Users demand and reward performance. Based on a recent analysis of Google Play reviews, 54% of users who left a 1-star review in the Google Play Store mentioned app stability and bugs as a reason for their low rating. Improving site speed by just 1/10 of a second increases progression rates on almost every step of the mobile purchase journey. Notably, retail sites saw an 8% increase in conversion rates due to site speed improvements, just 1/10 of a second. This is where Firebase Performance Monitoring can help. Performance Monitoring collects performance data out of the box for your app start time, network calls, and screen renderings. There are also a number of customizations available so you can monitor the user journeys most critical to your business. For example, you can customize data collection by instrumenting custom traces to measure specific user journeys in your app, like the amount of time users spend in the checkout flow or the number of items added to the shopping cart. Performance monitoring then organizes your app's performance metrics into a comprehensive dashboard so you can easily understand performance trends and anomalies. Now, let's dive deeper to see how performance monitoring can help take your app to the next level. Let's first take a look at the Firebase console. At the top, you can pick which percentile of data you want to view. What does percentile mean here? Let's say you have a total of 100 users who started your app, and you order these 100 app start times by duration from the shortest to the longest. Then, the 90th percentile of your app start time is the 90th app start time in this ordered list. 90% of your users have an app start time faster than this number, and 10% of your users have a slower app start time. Since the 90th percentile tells you the app's experience for 90% of your users, as well as the most impacted 10%, Firebase recommends that you monitor the 90th percentile of performance data for your mobile apps, aligned with Google Play Vitals. Going back to the dashboard, at the top, you can choose your most important metrics so you can see how they're performing at a glance, both across releases and over time. At the bottom of the dashboard, you'll find all of the network requests, traces, and screen renderings captured for your app. You can order the metrics by their value to understand the current performance of the metrics, or you can sort the metrics by their value over time to see the metrics that degraded the most week over week. Performance monitoring automatically aggregates data for similar network requests to help you identify trends in your network performance. But we know that sometimes you need a more fine-grained view of your APIs. So you can also set up custom URL patterns to monitor each API more closely. Let's consider an example. Once your network data starts to aggregate to the newly configured custom URL patterns, you see that the worst performing API is the one that loads images for a catalog page, with a 90th percentile of 2.72 seconds. This means that 10% of the calls to this API are slower than 2.72 seconds. This is definitely not a good experience for your users when they try to browse through the products. You take a look at the trend over time, and you notice there's a big increase a few days ago. This is probably because you just almost doubled the number of products in your store from a new exciting partnership with a well-known brand. After showing the dashboard trends to your product leads, your team decides to improve the response time for a catalog page by implementing a cache server so that your app performance can scale as your business scales. A few weeks later, your team finishes implementing the new cache server for a backend. It's been tested locally, and you're finally about to roll out the changes. But the new cache server is a risky change, and you want to monitor for any performance issues during the rollout, like a misconfiguration or a sudden increase in error rates. More importantly, you want to discover issues as soon as they appear to minimize the impact on your app and your users. Even though you know your performance data is available to you in real time in the Firebase console, it's still a daunting task to have to constantly monitor the dashboard. To make this task easier, performance monitoring just added the ability for you to set up threshold-based alerts so that you'll be the first one to know when your user experiences issues with releases or sudden performance degradations like those caused by network outages or resource issues. Let's see this in action. Say you decide to set up alerts for the image loading API, since that's the API most important to the product browsing experience. The local tests you conducted show that the 90th percentile response time for this API with the new cache server is around 1.2 seconds. So you set up an alert for when the 90th percentile response time exceeds 1.5 seconds, accounting for some variance in the network latency. You also set up alerts for when the success rate drops below 99%. When configuring alerts, we recommend that you set alert thresholds with some buffer room for the metrics you're monitoring. This way, you can account for random factors like network latency to have less false positive alerts. With this monitoring setup, you now confidently roll out the new cache changes. An hour later, you receive a couple of alert emails in your inbox. Oh no, the success rate of the catalog API has dropped from 99% to less than 80%, and the 90th percentile response time has increased to 3.4 seconds. There's definitely something wrong with the new cache server. You click on the email to view more details. After investigating, you see that there's a decrease in success rate specifically in Japan and the UK, and there are a large number of new 499 errors for this API. This usually indicates that the client connection is closed before the response can be returned, typically because of deadline exceeded errors. You decide to take a look at the response time alert to see if there are similar trends. The response time for this API has improved as expected in the US, but is performing much worse for Japan and the UK, just like the success rate. You know that the majority of your users are from these countries, and you quickly realize that your cache server is only deployed in the US. For users in Europe and Asia, cross-continental network calls were being made, which caused network response time to be even worse than when there was no cache. You quickly deploy 2 more cache servers, one in Europe and one in Asia, and you see the success rate returns to normal and the response time improves across the board. You're glad that you set up alerts before rolling out this change. Otherwise, you might have missed these issues until your next visit to the Firebase console, or even worse, from low-rating user reviews. Alerts are a powerful tool for monitoring the performance of your app. You can set up alerts for a wide range of metrics, but not every metric needs an alert. We recommend that you set up alerts for the most important user journeys or the metrics that you're in the process of optimizing. This way, when you receive an alert in your inbox, you know it's something you need to act on. Wherever you are in your app development journey, performance issues should be on your mind as a developer. Integrate your app with Firebase Performance Monitoring today and get notified for performance issues before they affect your users.
Thanks, Jenny. As a developer, you want to make sure that your app is stable, it's performing as expected, and all is going well. Whether you're building for Android or iOS or both, the Firebase Performance Monitoring and Crashlytics teams are here to help you make your app great. We hope that you're as excited about some of these new features as we are. When you're ready to take the next step on the journey to app development greatness, you can find out more about each of these products on firebase.google.com and in your Firebase console. Thank you.